Hey, what's up? This is Eric, and it is July 18th, I think. And I've got kind of exciting news. That I know the tree looks a little dumpy, but it's down here. Kind of hard to get it watered where it's at. It's down at the very bottom of my yard, next to the creek. But in a few years, I won't need to water it. But July 18th, and I noticed this the other day, probably Monday, I've got my first Breba swelling. And it doesn't look like the others are too awful far behind. This is a tree called Oro Rosato. I put it in the ground over the winter. Really productive. In a pot, seems to be carrying that over in the ground, but I couldn't get a good read on whether or not the main crop is actually going to hold and ripen or not. The first year I had the tree, the main crop all dropped like a San Pedro, like Desert King, and then the second year, last year that it fruited, the main crop held for the most part, but it was like half aborted, half ripening. It was really weird. So I don't know if it's I didn't notice any pollen either, so I don't think it's like an edible caprifig situation or anything like that. But it is really early, and the Breba crop eventually I think is going to be pretty productive. There's not as many on it this year in the ground as there was in a pot, but still, starting to ripen mid-July, for me, is pretty early, even for Breba. So that's really cool. That one looks good. I think I've got one other Breba that's swelling that was on a tree that came out of the greenhouse. So, that, I'll review it for flavor, but for ripening time, until it's really grown without having to have a head start, I can't say when the ripening time on that variety will be. But I know for sure this one is early. So if you don't have Oro Rosato in the Pacific Northwest, I would really strongly encourage you to get one if you want a striped fig. I'll update here in a few days when that thing is ready to pick, provided I can beat whatever animals, domestic or otherwise, if I can beat them to the punch. All right, take care. Thanks for tuning in.